Out there? Get my looper going. I'm jamming Sunday morning. What's happening, people? Oh man, my eyes blurry today. I'm gonna focus here. My contact's been bugging me. What's up? Oh yeah, so new color, ladies and gents. Happy Sunday to you. Super Bowl Sunday, by the way. I love this guitar. I went to Sir this week, and John set it up for me, and he cut the nut and everything, and he just knocked it out of the park. I think it's my favorite guitar now. I love it so much. So anyway, hi everybody. What do we got? We got 88 people online. I didn't announce on Facebook or anything like that, so we'll see how many people show up. Yeah. I assume people know about this already. If you're going to be here, you're going to be here. Have I recovered from NAMM? Yeah, I feel good. I do. It took a lot of people a lot of time to recover from NAMM. Everybody's like, man, I still feel, a lot of people got sick. A lot of people got sick. I managed to not get sick. So that's good. Hi from the Mojave Desert. Have I ever played an orange Rockerverb 50? Rockerverb 50. I haven't, I don't think. I played the 30 watt. They're good amps, those orange amps, you know? They're good. I like how simple they are. They're simple in a couple channels, and they're solid. What else we got here? How do you stop volume jumps from certain pedals? This is from Jimmy. Like a fuzz, which sounds best with the volume up. I suppose you could put a compressor after it. Maybe start with your amp dirtier. I know that's maybe not an optimum thing, but the amp being fuzz is, well, actually, I'm playing with a fuzz right now, and the amp is sort of David Gilmour style, where the amp is clean amp. You know, I'm playing through my Kemper Helix rig right now, and I've got the fuzz is. Let's see here if I turn the fuzz off. I have no idea how it sounds. Probably sounds terrible coming through the laptop mic. But by the way, it's a Starlight fuzz, which I just love from Crazy Tube Circuits. It kind of almost has like a distortion-like quality to it. It's not too brutal sounding. It's got like a nice distortion character to the fuzz, except when you get the gain up higher and higher, it's like, oh, it's a fuzz. It's not a distortion. But it's just. It just has this really awesome kind of. It's like a more polite big muff or something. I call it the fuzz for people that don't like fuzz. It's like, what fuzz should I get? I've never bonded with fuzzes. It's like, try the Starlight from Crazy Tube Circuits. Really, really good. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to back up in the chat here and try and get to some comments, questions, etc. Very Pink Floyd Gilmore opening. Yeah, that's the... so I've got a looper in... looper, you know, whatever. The loop, yeah, the looper in the Helix. And I love to just sit and... It's nice because I can turn pedals on and off within the Helix and kind of, you know, just play clean chords and like hit the fuzz or whatever, you know. Etc. Fun to sit here at TV volume and just rock out and get some cool tones. Cheddar says the new color is gorgeous. Yeah, man. I mean, I just love the way this guitar looks. It actually, you know, it's making me like when I walk by it, I like, ooh, I gotta pick that up and play it for a minute, which is pretty cool. It's pretty great. What do you prefer more, your Gibson, Les Paul Custom, Standard, or Nags? That's a good question. Like the thing about my custom, I find Gibson Les Paul Customs have this kind of, just with the ebony board, well, at least mine, it's got this depth to it that sounds great for dirty stuff, like hard rock. So that's a big part of why with Chris Cornell, I used to play my Les Paul Custom a lot on heavier stuff. It just had this, you know, I would play it on all the heavy Soundgarden stuff because it just had this deep kind of resonance to it that was really cool. And then my other Les Pauls are kind of the other way, where it's more like Telly-ish, which is cool too, actually, for a lot of his music. But so, for example, my Yaren or whatever, it's got much more of a airy, telly, chimey kind of thing going on to it. I mean, there's crossover, but with the custom, it just had this, for distortion, it had this balls to it, and still clarity. It was a good guitar. It was just a regular old 2001 or 2 regular Les Paul Custom, nothing, just a standard Gibson line one, and I always kind of bonded with that. George says, "How was NAMM?" NAMM was great this year. I mean, it was. I love NAMM. You know, it's like a lot. Like I always say, the hipster kind of thing for years has been, oh NAMM, I gotta go to NAMM, man. So you know, and then I saw Josh Smith once talking about it. I was talking to him about NAMM, and he goes, you know, man, all my friends are there. There's a bunch of guitars. I go 4 days. I love it. And it was the first time I'd heard somebody be really positive about it. It's like, what is not to like? It's true. It is overwhelming and exhausting and noisy and all that shit, but it's cool, you know. It's fun to go see a bunch of your friends and run into your friends every like 15 seconds. You're seeing someone else you know that you haven't seen for years. It's really cool. So I had a good time. Hi from the Isle of Wight. Loving the sound and new cert. Thank you. Yeah, I just love this guitar. I really do. Thanks. I'm glad you guys like the color because, you know, it's like a slightly unconventional color choice, I guess. It was actually last year at NAMM. Sir had a classic S that was this color, and I saw it on the wall, and I was like, damn, man, that guitar is beautiful. And it's not dissimilar to the color that I had on that old Sir Classic I had years and years ago that I stupidly let go. Which I don't think was Ocean Turquoise, but maybe it was. It seemed to me it was like a lighter color than this. But anyway. And, you know, the back of the neck is really cool, too, because it's just kind of, it's set. They were a little worried at Sir that it was going to look too gray. And I was like, I don't know, I think it's going to be fine. I kind of imagined it looking like that kind of, almost like composite. It's not, it's mahogany, but I kind of imagined it would look like the back of a, I don't know, like a Steinberger or something. And it turned out fine. It's just this kind of like, you know, it's flat. It's sort of a flat black satin or whatever, as opposed to the gloss, and it totally worked. So, yeah. How do I get on with the TC Rusty Fuzz? You know, the only time I ever really played it, I have one, but I haven't used it a lot, was at that thing in the GetCon conference in Germany. TC had one there, and I used it. I thought, that thing's great. So I got one. I think it's great. I didn't realize it's so inexpensive. It's like $35 or something, I think. But it sounds great. I mean, I like cheap fuzzes. Fuzz is such a brutal, primitive sound. I was, answering some questions about the Ventris video I did a little while ago, Ventris Reverb. The fuzz in that is the hyper fuzz, the Boss hyper fuzz. People are always like, man, what is that fuzz sound? It's like, it's just the hyper fuzz. I mean, they're hard to find now because it's a discontinued pedal, which they should make it again. But, yeah, that's a really, really, really good fuzz pedal, the hyper fuzz. And the Rusty, I kind of like cheap fuzzes. It's a cheap sound anyway. It's a brutal kind of primitive sound, a fuzz. So there's some great expensive ones too. I mean, my other sort of favorite these days is that BAE Hot Fuzz, and I don't think it's that cheap. I don't think it's super expensive either, but it's up there a little bit more. Somebody's saying cobalt blue. This is actually called the Ocean Turquoise. This color, yeah. Comments on the versatility of two humbuckers versus hum single single. Well, I mean, I feel like, let me see here. Right. There's the fuzz again, and you can totally get that single coil. I really have no idea how this sounds coming through the laptop mic, but I can get those sounds. That's the bridge humbucker, or I can split it in parallel and get that kind of brighter. And the two pickups in the middle, the neck humbucker, Still clarity, or the neck single coil, I use the neck single coil sound a lot, and especially with the compressor, it is kind of lower in volume because this pickup is not a hot humbucker. It's 7.2K or something like that. So the Thornbucker neck. So when you tap it, it's pretty low output, but especially if you bump it up a bit with a compressor, like I always do, it works fine. I would like at some point to do a hum single version of this guitar, maybe. I think it would look cool too. It would be pretty cool. I'd like to try that at some point, but down the road. Let's see. When I record with IRs, do I put a loader on each guitar track or on a bus? On each track. And I find with Mix IR2 and my computer, I have no problems with CPU or anything like that. So yeah, I do it on each individual track. We got 238 people. That's pretty good for Super Bowl Sunday. Hi from Vancouver Island. What's up there? What's my process of learning guitar solos? You find it to be a bit confusing. Well, I just start from the beginning, and I generally use a phrase trainer like Transcribe. It's been my favorite for a long time, from 7th string media. And you just load the solo in there. Load an MP3 in, and or a wave or whatever. And then one good thing to do is just take, if you can find tablature that's accurate, that's helpful, but generally I'm just learning them by ear. There's a lot of YouTube videos that you could watch online of either people teaching solos these days or the original versions, and you can kind of see somebody's fingering position, so that helps. Sometimes I'll reference, if it's a popular song I'm trying to learn, I'll reference the videos of people playing, and taking small segments at a time. So just a bar or two at a time is important. Make sure you've got the phrasing right and then move on. It can take a long time to learn a solo. You can work on, if it's something like Eruption or something, it can take you like years. It took me, but to play it right. But if it's, like you want to learn the solo to Stairway to Heaven or something like that, it might take you, the better part of an afternoon to kind of pick through it, in, a few hours or something like that, of coming back to it and going over it again and again. That's the other thing, is that when I learn things, I can get it sort of like 75, 80, 85% because I basically got it, and then I'll come back to it 3 hours later or a day later and I've forgotten it. It's like, then I need to listen to it again, start again. It's like, oh, there it is. Yeah, now I remember. and then after usually a couple days is when it gets in there. Thoughts on the new Sur guitars? Love them. Do you mean the Aura? Yeah, that's awesome. It's a terrific guitar. Okay. Jennifer said you recovered from NAMM and then bam, adopt the arts. Yeah, I was at that too. That was a good thing. Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses fame and Velvet Revolver and stuff. He does this adopt the arts thing where he's basically raising money to help music schools. Put music in schools in LA, kind of in the public school system here. Getting instruments in the hands of kids and keeping music programs going, keeping the funding going. There's a certain amount of government funding that he, I guess, helped convince the school board to keep that in the school system. It was like $18 million or something that they were going to cut from the budget, and then he sort of passionately advocated. I think I've got this right, but I think it was he went and spoke and talked about the power of music and how it's important to keep it in schools, and so they elected to keep that funding. But it's not enough, so the Adopt the Arts is all about raising money to sort of further music education in schools. So there was a nice show this week with lots of people, like Sammy Hagar was being honored, I guess, for his work that he's done in that field, I suppose, and Mike Anthony was there, and lots of musicians like Steve Stevens and Billy Gibbons and all kinds of great players, the guys from STP. Chris says, love your pickups in the Les Paul, in his Les Paul. Thank you. Johan says, how do I create my drum tracks in SSD, programming from scratch or relying on patterns? I use a lot of MIDI loops to start, and then I'll tweak them. So I'll, if I can't find an exact loop that's got the exact kick pattern I want, I'll use it. Copy paste it and move it around, and then I'll go in and physically move the drums where I want them to be. But there's enough loops out there these days from places like Loop Loft and Slam Tracks. There's all these great, just Google MIDI drum loops, and you'll find third party, for $29.95 you're able to go buy 500 different grooves or 1,000 grooves or whatever, and it'll be a person actually playing on a drum kit, playing the grooves in and recording the parts. You just load them into your. Generally, you can get them for Easy Drummer or formatted for Steven Slate drums or whatever. You load them into the kind of the groove browser or whatever, and then just work. So if that makes sense. Let's see. John says, "What's up? Because of your pedal reviews, he now has a very awesome, very mature pedal board. That's awesome." Mature. Does that mean it's an adult pedal board? So you can play big chords, only things with extensions, at least a major 7. Adult chords. Let's see. What do I think about bright cap mods for what's an FDRI? I'm not sure what kind of amp that is, or an AC15. I mean, it's good to mess with bright caps. I did the bright cap mod in my 71 Marshall this week. I had Friedman just pull a huge value bright cap in it that was letting all the highs through, made it very aggressive. So he put in 100 PF or whatever, I guess, which is quite, it's one of the lowest values, I guess, so that it only lets through the highs, presence kind of highs. And kind of keeps the amp sounding a little bit more usable at lower volumes, and that was great. Okay, chat screwed up again, so I'm going to back up here and miss a bunch of your comments, sorry. Have I ever experienced wrist pain, and how do I deal with it? I've had all kinds of problems, yeah, with my hands, especially my left. And for me, just it's really a combination of things. I guess ibuprofen tends to work pretty well, although it's not, you would be taking that all the time. But that would work. I mean, I feel it right now, like in my, I have kind of like, I think I have kind of like small wrists, and everything's in there kind of, you know what I mean? Like, that's my theory anyways, that I think some people are just built for playing guitar with bigger hands and like bigger wrists. There's more space probably, like for things like nerves and stuff to travel through, and everything feels kind of compacted to me in the way that I'm just physically made up or whatever. So I've had problems in my elbow and in my wrist here, and also with this hand. Weird problems with my right hand even have cropped up. So yeah, it's just really a matter of everybody's different, you know. I had problems a number of years ago that almost were sort of mimicking like fibromyalgia or whatever, and then I discovered that I have thyroid issues. So once I got treated for that, it seemed to make a lot of that go away. The thyroid's an amazing thing. It's like the master gland that basically controls everything, and if that goes awry, then you know, everything starts screwing up. So that seemed to really help with my problems. Okay, Vibro Steve says, you and Lee Anderson were in my dream last night. What happened in your dream? I dare I ask? I maybe don't want to know. Okay, what's my process for my guitar solos? That was that question, so I'm going to move on and keep going here. Do I watch the Super Bowl? Sometimes. I'm not a huge sports guy. I watch hockey sometimes because I'm Canadian, so especially if Oilers get in the playoffs, I'll watch and kind of get into it. But I'm not a big football person. Never have been. Okay, moving on. RevPad demo video question. That's the video I just put up yesterday. Oh, that's from Jennifer. What the song? Okay, so thank you. I'm glad you like it. Would I ever take my mini songs and blow them out for full length record? Well, that's exactly what I'm doing with my record. Like the Dirty Town that I put out a couple weeks ago, which will be on the record. It started out as the Andy Timmons demo, Andy Timmons pedal. So I'll go back and look through them and see if there's good ideas, you know, because I basically consider them all demos. They're demos. So, and that can be illuminating and enlightening when you go back and listen to all your stuff. I mean, a lot of it there I think is like, well, it's not really that original or whatever. So, but there's some that I think, yeah, that could definitely be a song. It's kind of fun. So definitely you can hear more of that on the record. What shelf did Dave Friedman use on my pedal board? He's going to sell them on his site if you guys are looking for pedal board shelves to elevate pedals and put other things underneath. I don't know if they have them yet, but he modified it. I'm not sure where he got it from, but they're going to sell them, and they're probably going to have them made to cut to order like the right size for his boards in particular. But mine, he had to actually, take a hacksaw too and make it fit on the board. But yeah, you might ask him, like send an email to racksystems@yahoo.com if you're looking for one of those pedal board shelves. And hit him up. I'm sure he could, if it was a one-off and you gave him dimensions, he could probably make it and send it to you or something. I don't know. Do I use a compression pedal? I use a few. On my main board now, I've got the little Wampler Ego Comp, the little mini, which I really like. It's a great little mini pedal. Another good small one is the Exotic SP compressor, I believe it's called. On this board here, I've got the Keeley GC2 limiting amplifier, which I was told is basically a DBX 160 in a pedal, kind of miniaturized. So here's a few different ones. When Soundgarden and Nirvana broke, what was I into and what did I think? I thought it was great. I had just come out of MI, and I remember the first time I saw the Smells Like Teen Spirit video. I was in Hollywood in my apartment, and I saw it, and it was like 2 in the afternoon or something. It came on. I was like, wow, this is really different. You know, I was like, these guys do not look like what I've been used to seeing coming out of Los Angeles. And it was cool, you know. It was like, it was refreshing, and it needed to happen at that point because things were getting so stupid at that point, honestly. I mean, I loved a lot of stuff that happened in the 80s, but as far as hard rock. It was just like, you know, it was eating itself for sure. So so I loved it. I loved Alice in Chains. You know, it was just cool and heavy, and it was nice and refreshing as a guitar player. Even though I was into technical stuff and playing, it was nice to go, oh, you don't have to do that. You can just write a good song, because the songs were better. That's the reality of a lot of the stuff that was coming out at the time. They just were writing better songs. The lyrics weren't so, you know, just kind of like moronic and formulaic, you know, kind of stuff. That it was out. You know, it was like a lot more um, uh, stretching and dangerous and cool. So so I really liked it. I had a background in, I mean, my first love was the Who and the Beatles and stuff like, you know, I was listening, like when I first started listening to music, I was listening to all kinds of stuff, but it wasn't really hard rock. It was more like the, you know, classic stuff. The guy that got me into listening to music, this older kid that was in my neighborhood, was really into the Jam and you know, the Beach Boys, like Pet Sounds kind of stuff, and so that's really what the first music that I got into. So luckily I kind of had a root in that, because the whole LA thing really got washed out. But I was like, oh, that's cool. I love good songs, and I love, you know, and I felt like Soundgarden, Nirvana, and stuff was that basically. It was just great tunes and stuff. So okay, moving down a little bit. Have I used the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 170? Not yet, but it looks really cool. And actually, they sent me an email this week. I do want to try it. I think they want some pedal demos and stuff for their pedals, and I was going to ask them about that, because I would like to give it a shot with something like the Ethos or something, you know, for a kind of ampy preamp pedal with that. See kind of what it sounds like. Any Sansamp highlights from NAMM? Well, they brought out their new Doug Pinnick bass pedal, which looks really cool. And I think that was their big release kind of this year, was the Doug bass pedal. Please explain effect loops and why use them, like on an amplifier or in a loop switcher. An effect loop on an amplifier is basically an insert point where between the preamp of the amplifier, where most of the tone and the distortion and overdrive happens, and then the output stage of the amplifier, which is like what amplifies your sound up to a loud volume, you can insert effects there. And the advantage to doing that with certain effects is that they're coming post-overdrive or post-distortion and compression, kind of, because a distorted amp compresses. So they're coming after that. And what happens is you won't distort then things like reverb and delay. So that's why you want to insert certain effects in an effects loop, so they can come post-distortion and then be amplified with the whole signal up to a volume where you can hear it. If you put certain effects in front of an amplifier where the distortion happens, in front of the preamp of the amplifier, what's going to happen is the amp's going to then distort those effects, and it's going to kind of blow them up and make them kind of muddy, which can be cool, but for many sounds it's not cool. It causes you know, a lot of problems. So not really. I'm almost easily set up to show you that right now, but not really. But basically, what happens is when you're running, say, delay and reverb in front of distortion, what happens is it sounds really washy and kind of blowing up and like a mess. It can kind of just sort of make a mess of your tone, especially if you're using a lot of distortion or overdrive, and it can make it pretty much impossible to get like a long delay or a long reverb happening. Yeah, so yeah, you want to run, if you want your reverbs and your delays nice and clean and clear and stuff like that, you want to run them either in an effects loop or post distortion somehow. So in other words, on your pedal board, that's why you would put a delay or a reverb or certain time-based effects like that after your overdrive or distortion or fuzz pedals, as opposed to in front. Now, just to contradict myself, I did a whole video on running delay in front of distortion. It's in my Tone Secrets playlist on YouTube, and you can hear the difference actually in that video. Go reference that video. Okay. Alrighty. 30-watt amp going into... Chris says he had a 30-watt orange amp going into a 412 cab. Plays power metal, standard tuning. Current speakers distort and get fuzzy way too soon. Looking for a tighter sound or suggestions for speakers. How do you know it's your speakers that are distorting and getting fuzzy and not just kind of other things? It's probably not the speakers if it's a 412 cabinet. 30 watts going into a 412, if it's an orange 412, they're probably V30s. So your cabinet's going to handle 240 watts. So I really doubt it's the speakers distorting. It's probably more just the tone of the amp. If you want a tighter sound for metal, try something like maybe the Precision Horizon Devices Precision Drive. It's got this control on it to kind of tighten up the low end, and you can vary it. Basically, it's cutting low end that you're sending into the front end of the amplifier out of your guitar. And if your amplifier is kind of bassy and tends to, which oranges can be, they can be kind of in the bottom end. It's part of the sound, which is great for some things. But if you want it really tight, you've got to tighten up that bottom end. So maybe the precision drive going into the front end of the amplifier will add some gain and stuff, but also keep things tight. Give that a look. It's probably not. It's not your speakers, I don't think. Okay, what's a great overdrive pedal for single coils? Clones, generally, like an Archer. Clone type. Tumnus can sound great with singles because they're fat. They're fat in the mids, and yeah. Keeley just sent me some of their new pedals. They've got this new pedal that's got a compressor and drive built in. I want to try that. That could be nice with single coils, I'm thinking. I heard it in the crazy loud environment there. It still sounded good. Let's see. Change strings on my telly to another gauge. The G string now sounds awful. Do you have to reset up? Generally, when you change gauges, you kind of have to re-intonate, and it can affect for sure, it can affect the tension on the neck. If you think about the difference between 9s and 10s, I mean, it's probably, I have no idea what it is, but there's something like, I don't know what it is, but let's say there's 80 pounds of tension on the neck pulling this way from the strings, right? Imagine lessening that to 70 pounds or something. Now the neck's going to, relax and go backwards or whatever, right? So if you go from 10s to 9s, that's going to happen. And you're going to need to have the guitar set up again. So that could be what's going on with the G string. I'm only guessing. Like, I don't know if you went heavier. If your G string sounds awful compared to before, I'm going to bet that you went to a lighter gauge. And that could also. I mean, if you really jump around gauges, it's almost like you need to get a new nut done on the guitar. Going up to something like a heavy gauge, like a 52 or a 56 on the low E, if the nut's cut for standard kind of you're gonna have an issue. So, okay, let's see here. Just paging down here. What are my thoughts about Pete Cornish pedals? I have tried very few, like a soft sustain I tried, and I thought it was really cool. Gilmore-y. It's like a fuzz with compression or something. Soft sustain, or maybe it's just a fuzz, but really cool. Phil X is a rock star. He is a rock star. He's like built to be a rock star, that guy. Let's see. Paging down. Loving the look of the new Sir Aura. Have I picked mine out yet? Well, I have to wait for John to have the time to make me one. I would love that. I would, but I know it'll be a while. He's got a lot of orders to fill. What pickups are in my Les Paul Custom? I almost forget what the neck pickup is. I think they might be these pickups. I never changed them for years and years and years, and it had WB, I think was the guy's name, and this guy Wade Boggs, and he made pickups back in the day, and then he kind of dropped off the face of the earth. He was a nice guy. He got in a little bit of business trouble, I think, and his pickup sounded really good. Anyway, the pickup in the bridge of my custom was a hot PAF Alnico 5 style that he made, and then I think the one in the neck was a Duncan 59 that had been in there forever. Okay. How far did I get with violin before transitioning to guitar? Not very far. At least I didn't think so. I mean, I could read music and pick through etudes and stuff, and like, you know, I was playing like kind of fiddly kind of stuff. But you know, I started when I was 9, and I played it till I was about 15, and then I just kind of backed off and just did guitar. Yeah. I would like to pick it up again someday. That would be cool, and I'd love to learn piano too. Do I get stage fright or any anxiety before performing? Sure I do. And sometimes it's worse than other times. Sometimes I'm fine walking out there, and other times it's like, there's always a bit of a rush, so, yeah. Yep. Let me see here. I was just looking for more questions here, guys. Can I say the name of the fuzz I was just talking about? The Starlight Fuzz is the one that I think you're talking about. Yeah, the Starlight is the one that I've got here on this little pedal board right now. Turn it on, turn off the compressor. I love the Starlight. It's a really, really nice sounding fuzz pedal. Okay, let's see here. Evening, says Ali Pearson. Quick 5 minutes watching before the night shift. Wow, you must be in Europe. Well, enjoy work. Let's see. Scott says the guitar is his favorite shade of blue. Thank you. Yeah, I love it too. Looks like the ocean. Moving down. What are my thoughts on Greg Koch's vocabulary and style musically? He's, you know, freakishly good. Like, the sort of endless flow of ideas and moving from style to style with seemingly effortless sort of is, you know, he blows my mind. Yeah, I think Greg's amazing. I really do. And he's a nice guy too. But man, what a guitar! I would love to take lessons from that guy. Any advice for new guitar players? Focus. Try and focus in this world of distractions. Turn off the phone and stuff and just work on something. You know, whatever it is you're practicing. Does anyone here have an Ibanez gem? Would they be kind enough to tell me their action height? Because you think yours is wrong. I don't really set my action. What did Sir say? I can't remember. Oh man, I'm not going to remember what the statistic that he sets his action to. This guitar plays like a dream right now because he set it up. Yeah. Also, the other thing is a good thing to point out. Check the height of the nut on your guitar if you have issues with action. It's always seeming high no matter how low you get the bridge, or it starts to buzz when the bridge is at certain, you know, and the neck is relatively straight and you still feel like it's high. It could be the nut, because I'm a freak about getting the nut down almost as low as I can without buzzing. And it's such a, you know, you pretty much have to go to a tech that really knows what they're doing and have them work on it for a while. And it's, you know, I watched John do the one on this guitar the other day, and it's an art form, cutting it just low enough, but not too low. Did I check out the new Bogner Ecstasy Blue compact pedal? I saw it. I've seen them. I haven't tried it, but I assume it probably sounds a lot like the other one. But which has always been one of my favorite drives for like the last. I mean, they've been out 5, 6, 7 years or something now. It's a really good overdrive. Did I see the new Satchel signature model? Yeah, I did. The zebra thing, right? Zebra Charvel situation. Let's see. New Friedman amp was killer. Is that the BE50 or something? Talking about at the show. RevPad sounded amazing. Look forward to hearing me add that to the new album. Yeah, I mean, some of those string patches and stuff, and I really liked the sound actually that I played on the lead, where you would hear me play and then slide, and it would do the feedback kind of sound. That's really cool, so I'll probably do something with that. So, but, you know, with the RevPad, it's like any parameter, basically, you can control from the pad. So pitch bending and tremolos and, you know, engaging reverb. You'd have a completely dry sound and hit the pad, do like a wash of reverb and delay. And if you put it in the right place on the guitar, you can kind of still, like, it can be right here, and your finger can be on it, and then you can kind of pick and do. So it could be, for somebody, it could be the, you know, the way they play, like an effect that they, you know, I could see somebody developing their sound around it. Well, not unlike a Tom Morello with his whammy pedal or whatever, but, you know, you don't want to overuse it, but the thing is you can do so many different things with it, you know. It's not just any one effect with that thing. You can do all kinds of things with it, so it's pretty cool. You can do, like, some of the stuff I didn't even show in the videos, like touch wah kind of stuff, or talk box sounding almost, where you can control it with your finger on the guitar. And it's really cool. But I prefer stainless steel frets. On some guitars, like on this guitar, for example, you know, my signature, it's got stainless steel. It feels great. On certain guitars, like the Les Pauls and stuff, I kind of tend to prefer nickel. Which might just be my own, you know, weirdness. But yeah, for the most part, I do. Greetings from Rosemead. Do I still do Monday nights at the Viper Room? Sometimes. I go down there and play. Yeah, occasionally. It's fun. Let's see. In a past live chat, I was in awe of the Nashville studio players. I'm an incredible player. What capabilities do they have that I lack? Well, reading. I'm a terrible reader. But I've got my own skill set that kind of has nothing to do with Nashville or what they're doing out there. So I'm pretty comfortable with that these days, actually. I've recognized that I do my own thing. And they do theirs, and they do it extraordinarily well. That's a tough game to get into, the whole Nashville session scene. There's not very many people that actually do it. It's a tight-knit kind of thing. One thing with Nashville, too, I'm not sure if a lot of you guys realize or not, but a lot of, I was talking about this with somebody this week, a lot of the touring bands that you see out with the big country artists, they don't really play on the records. It's like, and they don't even, there's like not a lot of crossover there. It's like you go into the studio and you make your records with the studio musicians, and you go on the road and you take your touring band. It's not true for every single situation, but that's a thing in Nashville. And it's just kind of the system. And it is what it is. So it's just a different world out there. Very different. Okay. Beatles question. John had 4 strings on his guitar when he first met George, and apparently played banjo and ukulele chords. Do I ever experiment with different chord shapes? Well, I mean, sure. You know, I do all kinds of. A big part of what I do is just moving my hands around, really. Like, you know, literally finding, like, you know, I don't know, like, we'll take a. I'm just making stuff up or whatever, but I'll just. You know, I'll drop one note in a chord or something, and I don't really. It's really that simple, you know. You know, just moving my fingers around, and then playing with different bass notes and things, you know. Let's say this is my chord. And I'll just kind of move my fingers around, try and find things that sound good. keeping some notes the same and static, and then other ones moving. I just do a lot of that basically in my writing, and then I'll play a melody on top. That's really my whole bag. Let's see, do I have advice for a player trying to get out of the blues box? Here's a good one. And I heard it described by Phil X really well. So let's say that you're in the key of like A, and you're always playing, kind of in this sort of fifth position zone. Go down here to like the third position, do that, and then recognize that you can just move up to the next group of 2 strings and shift up and play that same shape. And then because of the B string tuning, you need to shift down an extra fret here. But so anything you do here, now you've moved through sort of 3 different positions, right? So in other words, what I'm getting at is on this group of 2 strings you can be here, this group of 2 strings you can be here, this group of 2 strings you can be here, and it's kind of cool because you can play a little lick, move it up to the next, move it up to the next, and do it in 3 octaves, and it's cool because you can kind of nail home a melodic idea or a melody, shift up an octave, nail home that same thing, shift up another octave, nail home the same thing. You're moving, kind of building intensity because as the pitch rises, it sort of feels like it's grabbing the listener's ear, but you can repeat things then in different positions. So that can be a cool way to kind of break out of the blues box. The other thing you can do is just play up and down 1 string a lot. So if you're in, E, right, just do that. The top 2 strings can be terrific for kind of moving around a lot on the neck of the guitar. Maybe do like a bending lick, a fun one is to where you're kind of doing the ghost bend thing. You start with the note bent and then you drop it. And you can move up and down 1 string doing that, or you could do like the Eddie Van Halen. Kind of shifting up, just learn the scale patterns, kind of like the modes or whatever, and then play up 2 strings, and then that'll kind of act as a bridge between 2 different positions. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah. Okay. Looking for another question. Ever thought about going back and doing clinics at MI? Yeah, I'd love to. I have a couple times actually been back. I actually gave a commencement speech there, I guess, last year. I guess that's what it was. That was cool. Purple Rain sound, sort of, yeah. What do I think about the H9 reverb as opposed to the Strymon Big Sky? They're both cool. The H9 reverbs are really cool. I mean, I like the spring with the tremolo in it. That's a really cool one. And the black hole I end up using a lot for kind of the ambient stuff like I've got going right now. You're actually hearing me right now play through the line 6 reverb. It's the cave reverb setting, which is kind of one of the biggest kind of ambient. Like tailing out really long because I was getting on like David Gilmour on. Yeah. Okay, what else? Would I get my eye fixed? This is from Burnt. I always get this question. Yeah, I would actually. I would totally go do it. And I'm supposed to actually have an appointment with an ophthalmologist about it. To be honest, I don't think about it. You guys think about it because you're looking at me, and you got to look at me, I guess. But on a daily basis, it does not even occur to me. Doesn't really bother me in the slightest, and it would be a cosmetic fix. It's not really gonna like wire itself in my brain again if I got it straightened out. Well, you never know. The doctor said maybe, you know, but I don't like. Maybe you might see a little bit of a. I'm more worried about actually if I got it done, being disoriented like for a period of time. Right? And I think your brain adjusts pretty quick, but I would worry about being like. I just hope that it wouldn't be horrible, you know, like all of a sudden I've been this way my whole life and then you change something like that. I don't know. It might be weird, you know, visually, like just kind of like trip me out. But it's a fairly common operation these days. It is expensive. It's like, you know, 10 grand to go get it done. So it's just more money to spend that I don't really have to spend on things like that right now. What's my favorite musician joke? Okay, you want to hear my favorite musician joke? Okay, so the band is doing their record company showcase, and they're at the, let's just say the Viper Room, and because I used to do record company showcases there, and all the suits are there to watch them, and all the guys are out there with their arms crossed watching the band play, and the lead singer's up there on stage, and he's, "Wah!" and he's singing, and he's thinking like, man, I'm going to buy a big house in the hills, man, we're going to be on tour soon in a bus, and we're going to be just like, I'm going to have like tons of girls all around me, and I'm going to buy sports cars, and that's what he's thinking, woo, and he's singing the song, and then the guitar player's over there, and he's like, and he's like doing all his, you know, moves and stuff, and he's just killing it, and he's thinking, man, I'm going to buy 86 Les Pauls, and I'm going to get like, you know, 5 Marshall stacks, and I'm going to be rich soon. It's going to be awesome. The bass player's over there going 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's my musician joke. Okay. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Am I using the Z curves with Mix IR2? What's that? I think the Z curves the impulse responses of impedance curves. I think maybe that's what those are. I don't know. Yeah, you can do a thing with like if you're using a resistive type load with Mix IR2, you can do a thing where you use an impulse response of an impedance curve and you add it to the speaker sound, and it sort of mimics the sound of a true reactive load, I guess. I think that's what you're talking about. Wow, we're getting technical now. I don't do that because I just use the reactive load, but I'm not sure that's what you mean by Z-curve. Do I use any noise gates for live performance? Yes, sometimes. I bought this crappy little, well, it's not crappy, it works fine actually, it's just cheap. It was like a little, I think I bought it for 20 bucks or 30 bucks in Japan, and it's made by Moore, I think, and it's an inexpensive little mini noise gate pedal, and it works fine. And I use it only on my lead sounds, because I've been using the Archer, Rockaway Archer with the graphic EQ, and any graphic EQ can add some noise when you start pushing up sliders and adding gain. So it's getting a little hissy, so I just put the gate after that pedal, and that seems to work on my lead sound. Another one I tried was the Sentry, which is made by TC. I tried that recently, and it works great. Really good sounding. Really, really good sounding gate. Sentry, check it out. It's probably inexpensive. The TC pedals are quite reasonably priced these days. Okay, what else? What else? Shut Up and Play Your Guitar says, I'm shocked people still talk about Eruption. I recall when it came out, saw him play it in '78. But it just does not move me. Solo and Ice Cream Man, that moves me. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their favorite stuff, you know. Yeah, the Solo and Ice Cream Man's awesome, too. I think the thing with Eruption was it was just kind of mind-blowing. Nobody had heard anybody tap like that, really. Not to say he was the first to do it, but nobody had ever heard it done like that. Nobody ever really heard guitar played like that, you know, that kind of intensity and technique and tone. So it is a classic. Okay. Any EP3 Echoplex tips? Not really. They just sound better. They make your amp sound better. I haven't used a real tape delay in a long time. I've never owned an EP3, but I've used them like lots in studios and stuff. How do you know how to check your neck relief? I do this. I hold the third string mainly at the 22nd or last fret, whatever, and then the first fret, and then you look here and you look at the 12th fret, and you just make sure there's a little bit of a gap. So you're holding the string on either end of the neck. First fret, last fret. I use my thumb on my right hand, and then I use my first finger to check the height of the string. Just make sure there's like the smallest little bit of, because I like my neck straight, pretty straight. I'm a wuss. There has to be a little bit here too. So you move down the neck around the 7th fret, and you look there, and there's got to be just a little bit, and then there can be a little bit more here at the 12th fret. I was talking about that with Sir this week, and he's saying if he does frets, he makes it so that it's almost the same, like so that there's not more gap here. It's just the way he dresses them, and I guess that's the ultimate way to do it. But anyway, that's how I check. Has to be a little bit, just the smallest little bit of gap there. That means there's a little bit of relief in the neck. Okay, moving down. I'm going to try to get through some. I actually have to go relatively soon today, so I'll probably do about an hour and 10 minutes and then jet. So we're about 56 minutes right now. Somebody says, Matt Sorum, it's awesome, he's trying to keep music in schools. Yeah, it's definitely, I was really impressed with, I didn't realize how much he'd done, actually, for that. I think it's terrific. Opinion on handedness. I think that means like left hand or right hand. You know, the interesting thing about left-hand guitarists to me, and playing this way with the guitar the other way, is that, like I know Rick Emmett, for instance, from Triumph, is left-handed, but he plays a regular guitar. And to me, it's like, well, your strongest hand is on the neck then, and so that could be kind of a cool thing. I don't know. But I did know somebody when they were first starting out on bass, and they were a lefty, and they just couldn't, even when they grew up kind of doing air guitar, they always went this way. You know, so it was the only natural way for them to pick up an instrument. They had to play it that way. So I thought that was interesting. It's like, why is that a thing? We're making ourselves do something kind of unnatural anyway by playing the guitar. It's not like it's, you know, it's like you're training yourself to do something that's weird anyway. So it's like, why couldn't you play it either way? I don't know, but yeah, I found that interesting that a left-handed person just gravitated towards wanting to hold the guitar this way. You know, kind of the way that you would think a left-handed guitar player would. Anyway, I don't know if that makes any sense at all. Did I see the Baroni Lab 100-watt pedal? I did. I have heard of that thing, yeah. And Doug Aldrich stopped by the other day, and he was telling me about it and saying that I had to check it out. He says it sounds really good. Have I played with the UA Aux yet? No, but I am getting one, I think, pretty soon here, so I can't wait. That thing was a hit of NAMM for me, for sure. Let's see. A lot of nanotubes going on. That's that little tube that Chord developed. This tube is in a pedal thing isn't new. Do they really add tube preamp tone to a static state power section? I don't know. I haven't really tried them. So when am I growing my hair out again? I don't know. Maybe now. We'll have to wait and see. Do I really practice slow, or is that something that pros tell us? No, you have to practice slow. You know, when you're trying to get something down, you have to play it at no faster than the fastest tempo you can play it at absolutely perfectly. That's it. And then it gets in there, and then all of a sudden the speed comes really quickly. Okay, chat jumped down to the bottom, backing up a little bit. But 441 people online, that's not bad for not having announced it. I think most people know when I do this anyway by this time this week. I think this is the 14th or 15th one. When is the new album due out? So I want to do some physical release stuff with it, and that's going to take a little bit of time to get together for CD and LP and stuff. So I'm planning on like kind of 2 months now. That's what I want to do, is 2 months, and then that'll give me a little bit of time to get the CDs and other stuff happening. So a little bit of lead time. So March, you know, is what I'm thinking, like end. maybe April 1st, something like that. That's my plan. It's a little bit longer than I wanted to take, but I think it'll be worth it. Let's see here. Cool Pedal is the dirty robot. Who makes that? I'm not sure about that one. What's my personal setup as far as allowing some string buzz? And, well, if you can hear this, it's pretty damn clean. It's a little bit of buzz on the low strings, but if I pick light, you're not going to be able to hear that. But if I pick light, there's no buzz. If I pick hard, a little bit of rattle. And that's kind of how I do it. I have really, really quite low action. Most people pick up my guitar and go, wow, your guitar plays really well. But I really I did threshold adjustment this morning, just making sure it's just almost dead straight, but with a little bit of relief. And then, like I say, Sir cut the nut this week, and it's just set up like primo. I'm always. I like it low. Yeah, somebody says here, to start at the speed you can technically play it at and use a metronome and speed up incrementally. That's excellent advice. Play it, find out the fastest speed you can play something at comfortably, figure out where the metronome's at, and then see if you can move it up just a couple clicks every day to maybe full speed. This is if you're trying to learn something fast or something. Live and Die in Nashville. Great song. Thank you. That was the song that I did to kind of demo the Kemper Profiles from Michael Britt. Closest thing I've done to country. How about a Thorn clinic in Illinois? I would love to. I would love to if there's a store there that's a Sur dealer. Well, my clinic is kind of based around some Sur gear. I need the sort of support of a Sur dealer to do it. Any tour sport planned for the new album? Well, I'm putting it out myself, so the only tour sport would be from me. But I'd love to play live. Ever want to put together my own band? Yeah, I would love to do some gigs, like for the record. Now that I'll have 2 albums of music out, it would kind of make sense, I think. Any further info on the new Sur PT amplifier? Not right now, but I want to talk to them more about it and find out a real, honest-to-God timeline as far as getting some new stuff out. Just kind of giving, with NAMM and everything, giving some decompression time after that before I start pestering them about amps. Do I have any suggestions for learning theory and application to shredding? Not really. There's probably some good stuff out there, like maybe Rick Graham. Rick James! I'm Rick James, bitch! No, Rick Graham. Check out Rick Graham's website. Rick James. It's funny. Yeah, so Rick Graham's, he's got a website. It might just be rickgraham.com, I'm not sure, but you just Google his name, and he's got some amazing collection of lessons, and he's probably the most technically proficient guitar player I've ever seen. So, he might have some stuff there that kind of relates to theory and how it relates to shredding, I would think, because he's got a huge wide range of lessons you can buy off of his website. Chicago Music Exchange carries Sur. Do they? Okay, I love that store, so I'd love to go do something there. How about a tour with Carl Verheyen? I used to take lessons from Carl Verheyen many years ago. Carl's a great guitar player. Amazing guitar player, really. Do I sing also? In the shower? No, I do. I sing. I don't consider myself like a great lead singer, but I sing. I sing background vocals and stuff. Oh, this stupid chat window just keeps moving around. I have to go in about 6 minutes, guys, but I'm Rick James, says Chris K. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to stick down to the bottom of the chat here. I'm sorry if I missed your question. Please ask again, and I'll try and bang out as much as I can here in the next couple minutes. Do my Sur Classics have the silent system? Yes. When am I going to get a day in the life of Pete Thorn? Is that like a video I have to do? Or you guys follow me around everywhere? It might be boring. consists of a lot of coffee, sushi. Let's see here. Have I checked out the PreSonus Studio Live 3 with Dawn? No, I stopped by their booth at NAMM, but I'm a big UA guy these days, but I did see that I had something new out. What size fresh do I use? 6105. No, these are 6100. These are the equivalent to 6100. I've switched to these full time. Oh man. The chat just drive me crazy. Somebody asked about going back to do clinics at MI again. Yes, I would love to do that if the opportunity presented itself, for sure. Where do I go now to learn new stuff? I mean, YouTube usually. Find stuff to practice on, or Jam Track Central. Like I download Laurie Basilio's and Mateus Asato's lessons, and there's tons in there to work on. Have I tried the Empress Zola? No, I have not. How do I decide which pedals to review? It usually starts with somebody contacting me, with a company contacting me and asking me, and then they'll either send it out or I'll check it out, see if it's something I think I can do. Thoughts on the new Ibanez AZ series? I haven't seen them. Oh, they're the ones that kind of look like Sir Moderns. Yeah, they're definitely a bit Surrey. Definitely. How can one go about getting endorsed by companies? Well, you have to kind of be honest with yourself about the value that you. So, are you in a band that's visible, or are you a YouTube personality or something like that? If you are, then they'll be interested in working with you. It's a mutual exchange of things. So they're going to give you gear, and in return they're going to want something which, something that benefits their company. It really is as simple as that. So you have to look at what you can offer them. And if you can offer them something, they're generally pretty accessible online these days. There's always an artist relations person, with every company, or somebody that kind of handles artists. Do I make downloadable tone prints or presets for the Helix? Not yet, but I would be happy to do that with them at some point. Like develop 10 presets or something. Although I did do some for their Helix HX for the NAMM show, and I told them that they can give those away with it if they want. I'd be happy to do that. Thoughts on the Marshall Origin? Looks cool. I looked at the little 20-watt one. I thought, well, that's a neat looking amp. I'd love to try one. Can I show you a good 5 to 10 minute finger exercise? See if you can seek out some of the old Steve Morse stuff. I wonder if there's anywhere online, or maybe the YouTube videos are up. He had this thing. He had this really cool kind of finger, or this picking sort of. I screwed it up. That's it. Still remember it. I loved that. If you could find that, there's a lot of like string skipping going on and crossing over. And the thing I loved about Steve Morse is, so it pretty much just go seek out any of Steve's old sort of finger exercises, because they're so melodic. That's what I loved about his exercises and things that he would post. And he used to do a column in Guitar Player magazine. It was like playing music, It was like playing music, imagine that. But as opposed to just, and this is cool too, like just doing the old, where you're just climbing up the first fret. That's fine, but it doesn't sound like music. Steve's stuff sounded like music, It was just really melodic and beautiful. I've got some reverb going right now, sorry, but anyway, look for some Steve Morse stuff and his picking exercises. They were so cool. And I'll still use some of those as warm-ups and stuff. The great thing about them is they're not easy to play. So you kind of can't really even do them that fast. And there's a lot of string skipping going on. I find for warming up and getting my hands synced together, they work just beautifully well. Yeah. Okay, guys, I gotta go soon. Like in 2 minutes. Just a few more questions. What's the best way to train your ears? Just by listening, learning songs, and really honing in on things and taking just small segments of music. So if it's a, you know, if it's the solo to Stairway to Heaven, you want to learn that, turn off the reverb here. Okay, you know, if that's the thing, just get the, and then rewind the, and listen again. You know, and then get, right, get that much, and then, you know, and I would learn like that literally a note at a time, right, and make sure you got all the phrasing right, you know, and then move on to the next lick, and it might take you ages and ages and ages, but just by taking what your brain can digest is what I would say, you know, small little segments at a time. Is the best way to train your ears. You know, I hope that helps. Using a phrase trainer like Transcribe is great. Everybody's saying goodbye. Goodbye. Sad. I don't want to go yet, but I kind of have to, you guys. I'm sorry. Any difference using XLR outs, balanced quarter-inch outs? No. You can use balanced quarter-inch or XLR. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the tone at all. Do this the same. Is the delay also line 6? Yeah, I'm playing through my Helix right now. Kemper profile with the Helix effects is what I'm using. Okay, you guys. I better jet. I'm using the Helix now. Yeah, it's a Kemper profile of a. The clean sound is just a Michael Britt profile of a Morgan amp. And then I've got the Elephant Man delay going on the Helix. So that's just the Kemper. This is adding the delay from the Helix. This is adding that cave reverb. And then turning on the Keeley compressor that's on my pedal board. That's it. So it's up my fun little Kemper Helix rig I got here. It's really fun for home. Works good. Okay, you guys, have a great Sunday. I'm going to jet. Somebody says riff station. That's another good phrase trainer. Yeah, for sure. That's a good one. Okay, you guys, have a great Sunday. I got to run. And I'll see you next week. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Take care.